Hi, my name is Krista. I am the producer of this year's Blue Nose Ability Arts and Film Festival. Today, we're going to be talking a bit about branding, but before we start, I'd like to acknowledge that we are in Mi'kma'ki, which is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. We acknowledge the deep and powerful challenges faced by all marginalized communities in Nova Scotia, Canada, and beyond. Today, we are joined by Mariah Pelley Smith. She is the executive director of Mariah International Business and Vitality Incorporated. They offer a range of programs from business consulting to Reiki, graphic design, a lot of cool stuff. So, Mariah, if you'd like to give us a little bit more about you and what you do, and take it away.
Yes, hello. Yes, my name is Mariah Pelley Smith, and I run a 360 branding service operation here in Nova Scotia, Canada. But of course, I work with people all over the world. We do have a small team that supports the vision, and my journey started with me going to actually business marketing school in Newfoundland, Canada. And my practice, like my spiritual practices, my health practices, and my business has evolved. And there's been such a beautiful merging of like self-care, sacred practices, and branding, because I believe that your business is just an extension of you. So if the health in the body and the being isn't there, then the health is not in the business. So we work with the nervous systems of the people that we work with to make sure that they're healthy and they actually can hold the success. They can hold the things that they're trying to ground in this reality. And then we move into building the brands and the graphics and the more technical logistical sides of things.
That sounds amazing. Thank you for joining us and kind of telling us a bit about branding and what to do when you're trying to bring your personality into your digital space and your business.
So I know that I'm going to be going through some things. I think this is going to be about like, I don't know, an hour or so. So thank you for witnessing this experience, because I know that every opportunity in front of another human being, whether it's the replay or live, it can be a sacred thing. So I always like to open with it as a small little poem just about creativity, and how, like, one of my sayings is creativity is the new currency, because we have to be so creative while we're sort of in these lockdown situations.
True.
Yes, I'll do a little poem, and then I'm going to go through the different aspects of branding and how your potent personality needs to move through in order to actually have a resonance in certain places, and not being in a space of competition, but being in a space of arrival of the self. So, yes, poetry time. Sayadu, sayadu, di, sayadu, sayadu, di. The body is not a boundary. Dance out loud for me. Fuel up with breath. What is breath without breathing, the filling and releasing? Move out loud for me. What is movement without extension and restriction? What is love? What is love without entering and removing? There's something seductive about our feet. The curves make us unique. Maybe our words are trapped in between the soles of our feet in the rigid shoes underneath. We were meant to run free, bare feet, to absorb the knowledge and speech from the earth beneath, to leap, roots to bury deep. Earth fuels our creativity. Creativity is the new currency. Creativity is the new currency, because there's richness in the thickness, and there's thickness in the richness. Can I share a secret, fellow souls in disguise? Can I share a secret, fellow souls in disguise? We are leaders of our different seasons, rulers of our dreams and expressions. Could we perhaps be creatively, domestically, energetically, intellectually, and emotionally on the same page in this piece of time? The blocks in us hold rivers of tears from all the times we told ourselves we couldn't cry. We have masterpieces covered in gold hidden in our hearts and uterine walls. Ideas that would change systems if words were just spoken and appreciated, but manifesting these things would show a discrepancy in our previous capabilities. But we are now digging deep into our creativity. Walking in waves, clear all the old ways of thinking from our feet, please. Our support system needs to be clean waves on our knees, bending down, surrender to a new sound silence. Brings clarity. Waves rush into your throat, sing in sighs, the echoes, echoes, echoes were meant to multiply, rebel with sound. The greatest melodies are trapped up in our bodies. Bodies. Baidu, baidu, I be. What type of life do you want to emphasize? So thank you.
Amazing.
So my whole thing around branding is utilizing the voice, the intelligence, the creativity through your being on a consistent basis in order for people to really feel who you are. And my love of language and sound has made me successful because there's a certain resonance that people feel with me when I speak and when I'm teaching. So I do have a PowerPoint, of course. It's branding, so you need to have visuals. Let's get on here. So let me just bring up this situation here. All right, don't mind the sirens. Okay, so we're going to present. Alrighty, so becoming your brand, embody what you love, and you will be successful. So, the evolution of my brand has gone through many different changes, and the arrival of what the brand is now is very specific. It's very potent, and it has a very clear purpose. So, your branding is a whole experience of you. And in order for us to move in branding and not of like a just hopefully it looks nice and people will like it, we need to sort of come into a place of ruthless creation. You need to be breathing the visuals, you need to be breathing the messaging, because that's going to make you stand out. And it's not like standing out to compete. It's more standing out like, no, this is my brilliance. This is just me being me in me on a consistent basis. So we're going to go recovering potent personalities, so the discovery of the self. What parts can I bring together? Because a lot of us are on this journey of trying to figure out all the pieces of us and how do they actually fit in a business space, because we're moving out of this idea of you must be so professional in the professional world and you need to look like this. And but the thing is like, in order to actually have relationships with people, you have to be yourself. Like literally, like if you don't have humor, if you don't have laughter, if you don't have these things that people can connect to, if you don't have depth, then it's just surface level. And the greatest salespeople are the people with the most personalities, but then we're taught to not put the personality. So and I'm like, what? That doesn't even make any sense, guys. Get it together. So we're going to go through that, and then we're going to go through sound. So the way that your voice moves through spaces, because people can pick up who you are just the way that your voice moves. The visual, of course, intense. And I will note that all of the visuals, graphics, I've made with my own two hands. So this imagery here is one of my own creations. That's part of the image out of the Oracle deck that I made. And this whole concept of A temple is each service product can serve as a temple for someone to step into. If we treat every service and product as a sacred space, we create the value, they feel the value, and then they want to live inside that value. All right, so the potent personality. So I did mention at the beginning, every experience can be a ceremony and it can be performative, but it's not a fake performance. You're not trying to be someone else. It's an authentic performance. You're just allowing the energy and your personality to move through your system in a way that feels soothing, and it's reflective of what can be in other people. Was the most famous or the most engaging humans are the people that are embodied. And my sort of slogan is embodied wealth, because when we are embodied, there's no reason that we can't become what we want, because who we are is just so potent in every space that we're in. And you can tell in the way that I speak that I'm very passionate about these things, because this has been I'm in the journey, but it's been a journey to get into the space where the words that I speak, I can feel them as they move through me. Soothing after I show up. So I do a lot of meditations. I do a lot of sounding work. So part of my practice is using the voice. And funny enough, I was a pretty mute child, but now I'm a chatty box. And my understanding of like the quiet child being told you can't speak about this or be quiet or blah blah blah. We're learning how to get out of that for the rest of our adult life. So this whole soothing after I show up piece is, what can I leave with someone if they just hear my voice for 5 minutes? What can I leave with them? And your words have such an impact on another person. And we hear this all the time of someone can say something to you 100 jillion times, but then like, Phil from down the street says it once and it's like, whoa, like, you get this like amazing thing. So your words have value, and your personality is kind of intertwined with those words. It has to be beautiful. So I am an artist, I am a creator. When I'm creating a visual, I'm going to the depths of the visual. So this sort of imagery here, also my little faces there, like this imagery is like 4 different images overlaid, but things were erased, and then I had to put certain overlays in Procreate in order to get it the certain color that I wanted. But I made sure that like this part was covered, so there's an intricateness to creating visuals. But if you're not a visual person, there's still ways for you to get there. It's just removing the I'm not an artist thing from your consciousness. Quality and quantity. So when you're building your brand and your personality is growing, it's sort of evolving and revealing itself. We can go into these places of like, well, I want to have quality, but maybe you don't have the time to make the quantity. What I've experienced in creating my own brand is that I can create this one thing that's quality, but then I can multiply and make a bajillion things off of it. And you'll notice what I mean by that when we get into later of the visuals. But when you're starting the brand, it's always best as like because I'm a personality brand. So I'm a lifestyle brand for the business. So I need to have quality and quantity because I always have to be seen. So figuring out ways how you can do that without burning out the system or feeling like, oh, I didn't post today, like figure it out. We'll figure it out. Making people uncomfortable. So some of the things that I speak about in these different spaces, it rubs people's consciousness a little, like there's a little friction there, because maybe they haven't heard that concept before, but something feels good about it, but they haven't heard that language around it. So we do want to make people uncomfortable just by bringing in new concepts, because that helps people grow indirectly. So it's a beautiful thing when you can hold your own space in your own brand when you're speaking, and you know that it's rubbing someone a certain way, but you're like inside, you're like, because you know that they're going to think about something after. Humor. So humor is a big thing for me. I am a humorous person, as you can tell, and people will learn more when you bring in the humor aspect of the personality. Because if you're stern and serious all the time, then it can be a little bit too much. But there's a difference between the bringing in the seriousness of something and then bringing in the humor. You can play back and forth with that, and that also brings a trust in the brand, because when people listen to me speak or I'm teaching something, they trust what I'm talking about, but they also really appreciate how I can bring a humor when we are talking about something a little bit more serious. Sound. So, of course, my whole thing is sound and the depths of my brand. I do all sorts of things, of course, in the branding element, but in the energetic, more esoteric side of my brand, I channel a lot of sounds. I'm an intuitive healer. So my relationship of sound, like I have to speak, or like I can't function, like stuff needs to move through on a consistent basis. And a lot of people that I experience, people that I work with, like a lot of headaches, or like brain fog and confusion, is because they hold so much knowledge, and but they don't know how to articulate it in a way that's soothing other people, or they don't trust their own sound. So by me showing up and moving through my journey of being, completely kind of mute over here, speaking with spoken to, and then I went through those fumbly, this makes no sense spaces, and then coming into a space where I can hear my own words as they come through. They're also soothing to me at the same time, is a beautiful place to be, and teaching people how to get into that space. And then learn something and impress myself. So you aren't doing your job as a teacher, as a brand creator, as an educator, if you aren't learning something new when you're teaching. So even me speaking through these things, I'm learning something new. And if we can impress ourselves, that it really doesn't matter how the external responds, because you're like, damn, that was good. Like, when you're in that space, then it brings such an inner joy of expression, because you're like, wow, I just should keep doing this because I just like went beyond what I thought I could. All right, and I'm a fast talker, so I'll bring it down a little. Sound. So fall in love. So more resonance and hypnotize. So in one of my favorite poems that I wrote about sound is, um, the goal is to fall in love with your own sound. The goal is to fall in love with your own sound. The goal is to fall in love with your own sound. Repeat it, repeat it. So we want to love the way that our sound moves through spaces, because then people are going to stop and listen to that frequency, and you're going to have more resonance with people, because people don't trust people unless you trust yourself, and this hypnotized thing. So with social media and news and all the things, there's so much noise. There's a lot of overlap and conflicting information in the world, especially right now. So you as a brand trying to put things out, it's like you should be creating more than you're consuming, because you don't want to be hypnotized by all these different things, because you can't be a potent personality in the space if you're just regurgitating other people's things or trying to mishmash things that are confusing, but hopefully it'll make sense one day. Like, we want to be a little bit more clear on our direction. Intelligence in my positioning. So we are going to be, sending messages or emails with all different types of people, and your sound is, it's the hearing, but also over time you want people to like hear your voice when they read something from you. So I have clients like years ago, they're just like, every time I read this, I can hear exactly how you would say it. And that's how we want to leave people. So when we're writing out things, really talk how you talk, and that's gonna create a longer relationship with you through emails and texts and all those sorts of things. Read the layers of a human being. So you can tell when you're working with people or you're working with a new client or whatever, um, how they feel or think about themselves with the way that their sound moves through their body. So you can tell if they're speaking from the navel or if they're in the higher heart or they're like really squeaky. You can tell where they are in their consciousness. You can tell how the body is functioning. I can pick up what the nervous system is doing just based on how the sound is hitting certain parts and coming out. But of course, it takes a little bit of training and understanding. But you can tap in on an intuitive level. So if you notice someone that you're pitching your brand to or whatever, and like their sound is like kind of squeaky and it's like not confident, how can you amplify or give them permission to move their sound louder? So it's not a competition of who can pull or create more, who can fill the space more. It's more of like how do we amplify each other to be in the same realm of communication. And then the body is a mudra. So I do a lot of Kundalini yoga, and that's why I'm rocking the white all the time. Just as a teacher, aura things just amplifies and make this aura more magnetic. So in Kundalini yoga, we talk about mudra. And mudra is traditionally with the hands, different positioning to amplify certain things in the brain and in the body, connecting to different energy of planets and blah, blah, blah. But the body is also a mudra. And that's why we do so much yoga so that we can have a certain posture. And you'll notice that I'm sitting on the ground because that's where I feel most at home. And it's also best for my posture and my spine. Because in order for me to funnel all this information, I have to have a certain posture. So the way that we sit and the way that we move through spaces also affects the way that the sound moves through our body. And I think we're on day like 35 of this certain Kriya that we're doing. And it's a lot of arm movements and the amount of, like, I literally feel like I'm like walk on my hands now with all the, all the things that we've been doing. But the way that the movement that we're doing, it just fixed the posture, it literally fixed the way that my feet are positioned. And it's really amazing what you can do when you commit to a practice. It fixes the body over time. And then the way that the sound and the way that your body moves through spaces becomes so much more natural and the way the body's supposed to be. Long-term commitment through sound. Nothing is linear. So the way that your sound, your words, your messaging is going to shape shift over the time of your evolution. And my business has gone through, like, we're doing 8,000 programs and we're doing coaching and we're doing production over here, and we're doing like 8 jillion things at once, and it was like yes, and we're doing it. But now it's like we've repositioned. So now, like, all the things that we're doing are like contracts that are a year or 3 years, more high level, more high paying. So now my brand and the way that I'm positioning on the front line is less like jump in my program and more like lifestyle brand, trusting me and sort of seeing how I'm creating other people's brands, and I'm like less selling because I'm booked out for a certain time. So it's like we need to, when we're looking at our brand, we have to really know how to pivot as we grow. And then service product is an add-on. So some people, like, I was teaching this like Arcaline class where it's like we do certain mantra and movement, and you remove all of the energy that's held from previous past partners because their consciously get trapped in the body and you have this sort of fog. So removing that so that you can be more potent. And I had one of my students be like, you know what, I don't really know why I'm here, and I don't fully understand the teachings, but whatever you got going on, that's why I'm here. Like, I don't know, the energy's pulling me in. So I have a lot of people that show up to every single thing, regardless if they really understand it or not, because of the energy that I hold and because of the way that I speak. And eventually they'll be like, yeah, I get it now, or whatever. But the service or the product that they're getting, whether it's the access to the program or the course or the PDF or the Oracle cards, that becomes the add-on. And that's the position that we want to be, that you are so embodied that people just want to be around you. And then they're like, yeah, this is great that I get to have this too. That's a very powerful place to be in a brand. And that's where I'm experiencing right now. because a lot of the work that I do is about magnifying the experience of Mariah through branding and through voice, and like literally, it's like the beginnings of this time. We're in a pandemic here, and it doesn't even matter where I'm going. Literally, whether it's my massage therapist or my Uber driver or whatever, they're like, "Are you Mariah from whatever?" And I'm like, "Okay, the magnetic work is." Working because it doesn't matter where I go, people know who I am in this space, and we want our brands to be a place where it's like people just looking at you or being around you, like, are you that person? Are you the person that's bringing this beauty or this quality in the space? Visual. So where do we put you so that things can be seen? Okay, so um, so this is probably my branding from, like, I don't know, a couple months ago. So you can see how, of course, there's lots of me because I am the brand. And every part of this, all these visuals are handcrafted by yours truly. And when I was creating my brand, it's like we have the base colors very clean and things, but then how do we create a depth in the visuals so that it's different, so they know that it's a different thing, but they also know that it's still me, and that can be tricky for people when they're trying to add another product or a service or whatever it is. So at the time of this branding, of course, there's yellow and there's blue, and I have the purpley pink stuff. But because my specific coloring, the way that I position things, and I make sure that, like, my face is on most things, people know that it's me. And the visuals are super dupes important, especially in this time of all these like templates of Squarespace and templates on Canva and blah 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 blah. Like, you can use the templates, but you need to have something that's different in order for people to again trust you and your brand. So the evolution of my brand is like, I was just like, you know what? I feel like something else is coming in, and the storyline behind these three things are really intense. So, just in a very summarized version, I went through a lot of mother wounding energetic work in summary, and the I was connecting to the energy of dolphins, and the dolphins, this is, way off topic kind of ish, but I speak light language, so it's a channeled healing language, and I was connecting to the energy of dolphins, and I also channel a bunch of different healing symbols, which you'll see later. And the reason for the pink, so the pink became this arrival, and for me it was a spiritual experience to accept the pink, because I've always been like, it's gonna be a no for me, but then we came out the other side, and just based on like my chart and feng shui and blah blah blah, pink is something that I need to have in my space. And so I honored that. And the pink is also representative of the womb. And one of the teachings in Kundalini Yoga is if we forgive the mother, we forgive all things in our lives, and we can be successful. So if we have any issues with the birthing process or relationship with the mother, then we reject the pink. We don't want anything to do with the pink. So for me, it's an acceptance of that womby space, as I move into space of wanting to have children. What that pink means, pink doesn't mean Barbie. Pink means a sacred womb that we hold as self-identifying females. So there's something very powerful about that. So that's the purpose of that pink. So it's not just pink, it has a deeper meaning. And this gold rim is the brilliance, is the royalty around that understanding. And the dolphin has such a playfulness, a humor, an intelligence to it. So that's the reason why I have those. And then this sort of leafy pink blue sort of situation, prior to low-key speaking dolphin over here, just channeling that through, I was tapping into a lot of earthy tones. So I'm merging the elements, so the earthy elements and the aquatic elements in the brand. and also that goes into the grass as well. So I have these like a dolphin, some pink, some gold, some blue, and then how do we make an epic image to introduce a new brand? So these are actually 3 slides on the Instagram that I made. So in the Kundalini yoga that I practice, we talk about going to a new location. We don't have to figure out like how we got there. We just accept where we are in the newness. So when I was making out the thing, I was just like, how do I make these things in a way that's potent, that's me, that introduces a new brand? And if you really look at it, it's only like 3, 4 colors, maybe, because there's hues, some dolphins, and me, and like a whole brand has been created just based off that. So then how do we take the visuals to the next level? And all you need is like literally 3 things, and then you can create something beautiful. You just have to like sit down and focus. And then when we look more on the technical, more logistics, so I'm doing a lot of grant writing and stuff. And if I want to have this is for a content communications lead. So when I'm creating a beautiful PDF for someone to read, still bringing in the personality, but still honoring, like, it needs to make sense. They need to, read over it and all the things. So I had this. It's aesthetically pleasing for me, but also gives you like the basic of like, here's the team, here's me, this is what I do. And then also pieces of the brand of what was happening at the time, so that whoever is looking at that PDF has a really good understanding of like the amount of color and personality that they would be stepping into if they took that position. So when you're creating your visuals, it's not just social media and your website, it's also the documents that are internal as well. And then we mentioned quality and quantity before. So this is like brief over, this is my Kundalini Instagram. So these are the symbols that I was talking about. And each symbol I can read in a sound form. So each symbol has its own sound. So when I'm doing my what's it called? Challenge, I'm introducing concepts of sound in each day in all of these little cover photos, or the live stream that we did. So I'm building up my content based on what I like to do. And when you're bringing in your brand, it's like, what do you actually like to do? Teach that. And then you have a lot of fillers for your feed. And you also get used to your own voice. Like we're on day 35. So being live for that many days and new stuff coming in is very refreshing. And then also having consistency of the people that are viewing and absorbing your sound as well. And then on my, like, not personal, but this Instagram here, of course, I have like business things and a tattoo that I'll be getting, and me sounding, and the painting that I was working on, more professional photos. So it's like there's different elements of who I am. And like this here is like when I was working with my head of operations, and we're, going really intense in certain branding stuff, but also be looking cute. So it's like certain stuff sort of curated on my lifestyle Instagram of like me being as a human, me dancing around, but then also including symbols and the branding stuff and the importance of the work as well. So when you're trying to figure out what your feed is going to look like, it's going to look different depending on obviously your product or service or what you're doing. But if you are going to be the face, people need to know who you are, and they need to see your cat. They need to know what lasagna you're making that night, because people actually care for some reason. People are interested in other people. So we need to make sure that people can consume that content, and it doesn't have to take 70 years to make it. So here's some reels and me in the studio doing some sounding work. So me being, I just was floofing out my fro, 2,839 people really want to know what my fro was doing that day. Millie got 818 views because she was looking cute on the stand. And then, me speaking about frequency and stuff in the studio. This was an image that I was working on. I also did I got a bunch of stuff on the Facebook marketplace, a haul for my living room. And this is me doing people are really interested in all the white I wear. So I did a bunch of different white clothes that I wear in different outfits. But that content alone, that increased my engagement by I don't even know, it was insane. There's a insane amount of engagement just because of me being me, doing all these things. But it didn't come off of I'm trying to showcase my life. It wasn't like that. It was just I'm capturing those moments so that I can build connection. It's a different energy when you're posting in that way than if you're trying to you curate, but don't curate where it's you're curating it to death and people notice. Another thing would be milk your opportunities. So the Mariah International, we do showcases for the bus stop theater. So we are hired for the next couple of years to do things, and the branding for that was red and black and things. But then I had an opportunity to bring in a different branding, my branding, and a different theme. So this was when was this? This was February. I think this was February. So I introduced a healing event for the Bus Stop Theater. So we had a bunch of different artists. I was teaching Kundalini Yoga. I was performing some poetry, and it was live streamed at the Bus Stop Theater. We had the whole setup there. And so not only did I milk my relationship with the Bus Stop Theater, where I get to be let's change the coloring. Let's just do that. So now my branding is now associated with the Bus Stop Theater, done. And then we have all of this content. So I think it was an hour and a half of these different artists, me speaking. So now we can pull screenshots. We have the link to the YouTube video. That's the full length. We have the link to the Facebook. Now we have all these links where people were actually replaying it and commenting after the fact. So that one piece of content is now put into a bunch of different smaller videos for the feed. It's also hithering in different parts of the social media universe, but then also the capturing images of me on a stage teaching is a different dynamic than me on Zoom in my living room. It's a different thing. It brings a credibility to me as an artist, to me as a teacher, as me as a yoga practitioner. And then also having all these different artists and then being able to associate myself with other artists that are also doing healing work. It also showcase the quality and community that I also value as well. And during this situation, we also had there's a minute and a half video of us doing the whole setup and the little human, I don't know, he's 3 hitting the sound bowls and being cute and setting up the food and me being ridiculous and me trying to I'm drinking Thirsty Buddha, actually drinking Thirsty Buddha right now. Being one day we will be partner with Thirsty, just being ridiculous and doing those things. So we had a bunch of reels and so it was just people were in it the whole time because it was literally live in the story while it's streaming. It was just a whole thing. So you can make one thing a whole thing, but if we didn't catch any of the background stuff, if we didn't do much marketing, then it would have been just a thing that happened that nobody really heard about. So again, it's the way that you show up, because this one thing exploded, and then that gave me the opportunity to renew a new contract that is a lot of money for the next couple years, and that allows me to now have a separate admin just for the Art Arena project. That allows me to bring on more people, and then it also allows me to bring more healing focused events for the long term, because the executive director and their head of operations was I needed that. So I actually helped those people that are actually running the whole situation at the Bus Stop Theater move through something as well with the quality of work. So again, it's the way you show up. Yes. So enough about me for a second. We'll move into other things, even though, look, there's me. So I was a presenter for 5 seconds. Okay, so I worked with Youth Art Connection, and they had basic branding with literally like kind of this like textured thing that's behind here, the color blue and a little purple, and they're like, that's all we got, that's all she wrote. And I was like, all right. So I made the entire brand based off those colors and that one texture. Boom, done. So we created all sorts of different templates. So when they're doing like, they have like a hub where student artists performing things, so making different templates in order to harness and hold that, different network opportunities. And we also built their whole website as well based off that branding. So with the visuals, of course, your documents, social media also is also very important. The website thing is a whole other living existence because it's own entity. Keeping up with websites can be intense. So if you're going to be building a website, make sure you have someone to emotionally support you, or you have someone that can help make changes. Because I do website maintenance for clients, and I have to like, all right, let's do a step before we get into this, because it's so tedious work. So make sure that you're prepared for what that looks like. And the reason for this slide is just to showcase, like, this is a curated feed, but it also looks like things are happening and evolving over time. So it'll be natural for like the call out and then the different artist reveal. And your version of each post might be different as well. So we know on a post, if it has the little squares or whatever, then you can slide through. So a lot of the posts that we created for Art Arena, epic front visual, but then if you slide through, it has like a 30-second or a minute trailer of them actually dancing. So you can create depth within the feed. And then you also can create a way to make the, like how I showed how I had my new location, new home or whatever of my brand, where those three sort of click together. So you can make it so this whole thing could be one sort of messaging or one imagery, depending on how deep you want to go. And here's just more close up. So we're designing some swag, and there's so much that you can do with colors. So instead of me just having him with the black background that he had, I cut him out. I made sure that there was like some sort of gradient to capture the different colors in the brand. Make sure that, his name is more potent, but it all starts from just a basic board of like, what do I want to capture, and then it can turn into all the beauty. And then I recreated their logo because it wasn't really hitting the way I wanted to hit. So this logo it's simple, but also has a complexity when you look deeper into it. So I guess this is sort of case study zone here. So this is a very corporate branding. So I just had to like take their yellow and their purple and clean it up. So it's very basic. It's not like woo, but it does the job. And Sasha, amazing human. So she's one of my top clients. She has her own brand. This is a nonprofit organization for people in recovery. But then she also is working with one of the top Kundalini yoga institutions in the world, which I'm doing the branding for, hair flick. So very exciting. So it's how do we take her brand and how do we make it more esoteric because of the work, because she's also a Kundalini yoga teacher. And here's just like when you're sort of planning out things, hashtags, and you want to have this sort of opposite just so that it has a little bit of more depth. You don't want everything to be one color. So Rama Institute is one of the biggest Kundalini Yoga institutes in the world. I did get my training from there. And so when she hired me to work on Roar, and then she got the opportunity to teach on their platform, she's like, we need the branding, Mariah, help me with the branding. So I'm like, okay, so we need to honor their logo and the things, but we also need to make sure that it's you. So we can see here in this, like that is sort of the base imagery collage, if you may. And each layer of that image represents something. So Rama recovery is for people with addiction. And Sasha went through her becoming sober in the desert. So that's why we have the desert feel. But also there is water in the desert, but sometimes it's hard to get to. But once you find that water, there's a nurturing within the system. There's an arrival. There's a clarity and a purity. So we have that sort of holding of the water gently in the background. We have the purple for the seeing, the third eye, and we have the green for that heart space of that self-compassion. So when you explain pieces like that in your brand, people are going to be able to connect to it better, and they're gonna value a lot more. So taking that one imagery, banner, we planned out a photo shoot, got some pictures, and then her with other people looking cute, looking happy. That creates a depth within the imagery as well. So that hits you different if there wasn't a background, or if we didn't have the vision glowing, it wouldn't be doing the same thing. And then her teaching the addiction meditation, and then also her with men behind her doing a certain positioning, again with the backdrop. So you can take very simple colors and imagery, just the way that you overlay them, that's going to create the impact. So yes. Anything else would I like to share with the class here? So we've gone through sound and potent personality, and we've gone through a bunch of different brands that I've worked on. And I would say that the greatest thing that you can do for your brand and your creation, it's okay to take inspiration, but we never want to copy, even though it's so amazing and you wish it was yours. You becoming in your brand, you embodying the brand, is a self-discovery process. And if it's you, then it's going to really intimate. You're going to get there someday. But if it's you and a bunch of people, then you have to figure out what that personality is going to be, whether you're going to create a character that's going to amplify everyone's personality in one space. And you also have to be really comfortable with being seen, especially if you're a lifestyle human. Because if my face wasn't on all of the stuff, then I wouldn't be as successful as I am, because people are resonating with me as the human. And that was a lot of information, a lot of download. And I hope that there's some things that you can take away from this PowerPoint, and the epicness of my voice. And I hope you have a glorious, wonderful branding experience in building your creation. And that's all she wrote. So, yeah.
So everybody, if you want any more information about branding, or you would like to watch this again, you can go to our Arts and Access Toolkit on our BAAFF website. But Mariah, if you would like to provide us with your contact information, or anybody can actually look at Mariah's Instagram and follow her and see what's up and get some inspiration from her work. So thank you so much, and I hope everybody has a great day.
Yeah, thank you for having me.